And two scary situations for passengers at DIA has brought up some legal questions of late. Let's review. This was the most recent. Passengers and crew evacuated an American Airlines flight after a maintenance issue involving the aircraft's landing gear. A passenger said about halfway to takeoff speed, they heard a big bang and a pop, and the pilot immediately started to abort procedures for taking off. Now, before that, an engine fire forced the evacuation of another American Airlines plane at DIA. This was a few months ago, and passengers have already brought a lawsuit accusing American Airlines of negligence and misconduct. So given all of that, this morning we are talking about airline liability. Joining me this morning to discuss that is 9 News legal expert Whitney Traylor. Whitney, good morning.
Good morning, Jordan.
What claims do you expect these passengers to bring forward this time?
Well, they may have some claims. I don't know if they'll be as strong as the last case, but in the last case, they brought claims of negligence, negligent supervision, negligent retention, all of these things related to, and they blamed the crew for some of that. And so here, I suspect there will be lawsuits. And here, it's going to be interesting, though, because there's it looked like it was a plane malfunction, the tire and what have you. So there could be manufacturer liability and that type of thing. But I suspect there will be some lawsuits. But the issue is the damages, because here there was one person sent to the hospital, and I think it was minor injuries. So the question is going to be, what are these cases going to be worth when there weren't any physical injuries, certainly emotional and mental?
We've seen a lot of cases like this popping up within the last year or two.
Yeah.
And there's always a lot of finger pointing. How is liability determined?
Right. So that's what lawsuits are for. So that's when you go to, generally they say, sue first and ask questions later. And so you sue everyone who may be liable. But then as the case goes forward in these civil cases, you're going to have discovery. And so you'll discover, you'll get information related to, did the manufacturer do something wrong? Was it the actual airline? And so a lot of times, and American may even bring in third parties to say, no, it was actually them. And so that's why these cases get really complex. They're very expensive. There's a lot of experts, and you determine that in the trial.
So then they present that to the court. How does the court determine liability?
Right. So that's really going to be where, like I said, with the experts and that type of thing. And there'll be a jury trial, and the jury's going to have to sift through and say, okay, this party was liable. And then there may be times where they say it was partly the manufacturer, it was partly the actual airline. And so there may be a verdict where a number of different parties are liable. But these kind of cases, I would suspect, would settle.
Well, this is really interesting because physically speaking, it is well reported that there, thankfully, were no serious injuries from this. What could these passengers sue for?
Well, so they could sue for things, the emotional distress, because think about it. I mean, we fly a lot, and most of us, the vast majority, have never had any kind of issue, any kind of a hiccup. So the fear and the terror, that type of thing, that emotional distress, certainly could be worthy of damages. And what will happen is folks will go to doctors. They'll get therapy. Some people may end up on medication. And then that's what a jury decides. They say, okay, how much is this worth? And if somebody says, look, I can never fly again. I thought I was never going to see my family again. What is that actually worth? And so that's really, that comes down to, I think, the persuasiveness of the lawyers in really trying to convince the jury that, hey, this person was significantly damaged, even though there were no physical injuries.
And remind us just kind of the court process on that. What does it take for someone to, share what they call their trauma, and for the jury to say, we feel that's valid?
Right. So with the plaintiffs, so these passengers, they're going to have the burden of proof, but it's just a slight burden. It's not beyond a reasonable doubt like a criminal case. So it's a preponderance of the evidence. So it just has to be a little more than 50%. And that's where you'll get up and you'll actually say to the jury, yes, I called my wife. I didn't think I would make it. I had, visions of dying, what have you. Then they'll have the doctors come and testify. And the doctors will say, yeah, this is serious trauma. This is going to take years of rehabilitation. And, a lot of times it will be that type of thing. I mean, those folks, you saw them coming down the slide. I mean, and with the smoke billowing, that must have been really terrifying.
Yeah. Now, to be clear, we have not seen a lawsuit filed in this case, but you do expect one to come forward?
I would expect one, and of course, I mean, a lot of these airlines, they do want to settle. Sometimes there's an accident, and airlines will actually pay money before anything even happens. There was one international flight, and they paid everybody 30 grand, and they didn't have to sign a waiver and give away their rights to sue.
Which was actually less than probably what a court would have awarded.
Yeah, but that wasn't the end of it. They could still go forward and go and sue.
But it mitigated that situation
Exactly.
altogether.
Yep.
All right, interesting. Whitney, we appreciate your insight. Thank you very much.
Yep.